As Nate would say, live from Las Vegas, we are here, and this is what we wish we knew before going raw vegan. We're going to be joined by Karen RANZI, who has been raw for well over 20 years, and she's raised her kids raw vegan. So she's been around quite a while, and she's learned a lot. So we are going to have her on shortly here. As soon as she joins, we'll get her in, but we're going to talk about the things that we wish we knew before and what we did in the past, what we would maybe do differently. I know for myself, one of the big things that I would have done differently would have been to ask for what I want, because people are more than likely wanting to give you things, like, for example, a restaurant. When I first went raw, the first couple days, or first couple months, sorry, I went on a trip to Mexico, and they didn't have any raw salads at this one dinner. They were all doused in animal products and high fat and all that stuff. So I was too scared to ask for raw food, and they would have more than likely been happy to bring me some raw stuff, but I hadn't asked. And that's something that I really wish that I would have known when I first started, would have been to just ask and you shall receive. But Karen's in here now, so we're gonna add Karen. So excited. I seriously love Karen. She's such a sweetheart and she knows so much. So it's going to be a really fun conversation.
Hey,
Karen.
how are you,
Hello,
Lisa?
Karen. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes. This
Yeah.
is going to be such a fun one. What we wish we knew before going raw.
I have a
So
lot of those.
yeah, for sure. For those of you who don't know Karen, I'm actually going to post the bundle link in the chat here and pin it. But if you don't know Karen, Karen is amazing, and she's at Super Healthy Raw. So go give her a follow, check out her stuff. And Karen, I would like to have you share a little bit about your story, how long you've been raw vegan, and your experience with that really quick with the people.
So I've been raw vegan for 27 years. Started in 1994 because my son had asthma and chronic ear infections, very severe asthma. We were in and out of hospitals, and we were vegan. I was vegan already.
Oh,
I
wow. So how
figured,
long have you been vegan?
I've been vegetarian for 50 years and vegan for 32 years. And that was in 1989. But, we were eating a lot of, my diet was mostly pasta and bread.
Mm.
And it wasn't until 1994 when we went to raw vegan that I feel like we started getting much more nutrition. And that's why my son healed and I healed from cystic acne. Like, I know that was an issue for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the cystic acne was, it was 25 to 30 years of running to dermatologists and taking dangerous drugs, spending thousands of dollars, putting creams all over my face. None of the drugs helped. And then, I get rid of dairy in 1989, going vegan, and the acne pretty much goes away in like 3 months. And then even the scarring in 1994, when I went raw, I figured, well, I'm just going to have to live with the scars. But in 1994, that all went away.
Wow.
And it was pretty impressive. I had ups and downs, though. There were mistakes I made along the way because of being a pioneer in this. There weren't a lot of people out there in the 90s when I was doing it, doing raw vegan. I did know Dr. Doug Graham and some other people. And I started my own community on the East Coast of the United States. And I grew that community. So 27 years and there's no going back.
Right? There is no going back. And I feel like a lot of people end up going back because of the things that we're going to talk about some of the classic things that we wish we knew, because a lot of people struggle sticking to a raw diet because they're missing a piece, or they're following some advice that isn't working for them, or they're in a mindset where they feel like they can't change because this has to be the way, or whatever they're doing is like it. They're narrow, right? Because somebody online said you have to do this, and so they fall into it, and they get worse and worse and worse, and then eventually end up going back to even animal products, which we see it happen, and we see patterns as well. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the things that we wish we knew to help people who might be doing those things, right?
Yes.
Who might need a little help or a different perspective, because it really is about being open. And one of the things that I wish that I knew was that it's okay to do low fat. That was a big one for me, because I started in the natural health industry in 2001 when I was 21. And I was working in a health food store. My boss had a Bachelor of Science degree in nutrition, and I learned a lot from him. I took a lot of classes because I was going through to get my nutritional consulting diploma to consult people. But I was like flooded with diet culture stuff, even in the natural health industry, right? It's like kind of a universal, you need to restrict your calories, you need to portion control, you need all this healthy fat or high fat or what have you. Fruit is bad, you know, the typical stuff, right? It happens in the natural health industry as well. And we're stuck in this diet culture circle. And so I was really scared of doing low fat in the beginning. And for 10 years, from 2004 to 2014, I always did the high fat, because I was always like, well, we need lots of fats. So, and it never worked. It just didn't work. And I wish that I had the courage and the open mind to try the low fat version. But again, not very many people were talking about it. Like you said, even back in 2004, it was still kind of new. And it wasn't until 2014 when I really was like, okay, I'm going to try the low fat version. And I wish I did it sooner. But I mean, we learn, right? So
I mean, even when I went to raw vegan, I I would have been better having a low fat, whole food vegan diet.
mm-hmm.
Like I would have
100%.
been better having fruit and vegetables and having a salad with a steamed sweet potato
Mm-hmm.
than having all the fats, the nuts and the oils.
Mm-hmm.
That really was not healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have energy. I was sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that I wish I knew when I first started, that all those fats, you know, like you having those fats and being told that we need fats and the brain needs fats. Well, you know, we get a certain amount of fats also eating fruits and vegetables. And if we're eating a small amount of nuts and seeds and avocado, we're also going to be getting fats. And when I made the switch, I saw it right away. And also the increase of energy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the energy on all those fats. So that was also for me was one of the main things.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other things was that there was a period of time when I was eating mostly fruit. And
This is
that
a
was
good one.
I was eating mostly fruit. I was already years into being raw vegan. And so I stopped eating the fat because the fruit gave me the energy that I wanted. However, I started experiencing mineral deficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing if you're living in a place where you're tropical and you have fruit trees locally or in your yard. I know people like that who are living on fruit.
Mm-hmm.
But I live in the US in the Northeast, and we don't get, you know, except in the warmer weather where I do get local fruit, and that I do eat a lot of fruit in the summer. But once it gets colder out, I can't depend on that because it's all imported. A lot of it is picked unripe. That doesn't mean I'm not going to eat fruit. I do
Exactly.
think that fruit is our diet as humans.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the colder weather, I really do bulk up on a lot of green. And that was a mistake. I started getting cracks on the corners of my mouth
Mm-hmm.
every winter. when I was still eating a lot of fruit and not eating enough green.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I started eating enough green, those cracks went away and never came back. And I clearly feel that was minerals. That
Mm-hmm.
was minerals that I needed. Uh,
Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that too, because when I first started raw, I was I was being swayed over to the detox culture, right? Where it's like the mono meals and stuff. I never did any of that, but I was intrigued by it, and I was like, I could feel myself being pulled over to that side. But being in Canada, again, the fruit wasn't as great. Like, yeah, we did get some good fruit here and there, but for the most part, it wasn't the best. Like, it's definitely not even close to what we're getting here in Vegas, and we're not even in a tropical place, right? Things are shipped from like Mexico and California, so it's closer. It's a little bit more local, I guess, so to speak. It's way different than having it shipped to a northern country, right?
yeah.
But I could feel myself being pulled over to that, and I had done fasts and stuff like that in the past, so in a way it made sense to me. But because I was eating so many salads, I wasn't getting like the classic detox symptoms, and I wasn't getting all of these symptoms that people were saying that they had. And they're like, Lisa, why didn't you go through detox? And I'm like, probably because I ate so many greens and I ate a lot of fruit. Like, it's not like I was under eating fruit. I was eating fruit for breakfast and fruit for snacks, fruit in my dressings. I even put fruit in my salads, but I was
Yeah.
also eating a lot of greens and sprouts. So I feel like that really helped me not fall into the detox obsession, right? Because there's a lot of people who do fall into that, and they go too long under eating or trying to get pure and perfect and everything, and they're neglecting adequate calories and uh, a well-balanced variety for a healthy gut microbiome and stuff. And that's something that's new science as well, as the gut microbiome. We're learning a lot about it now, but even like when you went raw, it wasn't really talked about back then.
No, no, it really wasn't talked about very much.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly I was doing a lot of research at that time, and that ended up in the culmination of my books, that research. I have a couple of my books behind me. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and I learned that everything that we eat is just so important for building up that healthy gut bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was learning it, I realized how important those greens really are for our health.
Mm-hmm.
And that, getting all those whole fruits and vegetables in, and certainly sprouts, because one of the main questions that I still get is about protein.
Mm. Yeah,
And
us too.
protein and I didn't realize back then, my mother felt that we always needed the animal protein. And that's why I wasn't raised as vegan and raw, even though my father and my grandmother were vegan and raw. E-
Wow.
Even before those words ever came out, because in 1921, my grandmother had asthma and emphysema. And she was hospitalized, and the doctors gave her whatever medicines they had. And then they told her that they thought she was going to die in a few months because her emphysema was so serious. And she read a book called The Mucusless Diet Healing System that came out in 1918, and she completely turned her situation around way before vegan and raw ever was talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So people through history have been healing this way because this is our natural diet as humans.
Mm-hmm.
And this was something that I had to learn, even though I had it in my family history, this wonderful healing story of my grandmother. She lived like almost another 50 years and good quality of life. But, we do make mistakes along the way. And one of those was not eating enough green. So I added it in. And also just thinking that when I came to raw food, just thinking that raw food was all I needed and I
Mm.
didn't need anything else and I could just eat raw. And, when you're talking about calories and eating enough, I had lost about 15 pounds when I first started, especially when I started giving up the fat and eating more fruit. I wasn't eating enough. And
Mhm.
I'm normally like 114, 115, and I went like under 100 pounds.
Wow.
I was totally emaciated. Even my father, who had been vegan and high raw for most of his life, he was telling me to eat cooked food. He was thinking that I was just, because I went totally raw, he felt that that's why I was losing weight. But I wasn't willing to listen to anybody. I was determined to stick it out.
Mhm.
And I did. And it was really impressive what happened. And I think some of it, when people come to this diet, some of the weight loss initially is normal.
Mhm.
Even some people who are getting enough calories lose weight. And some of that, I think, is like false weight that
Mhm.
maybe needs to come off after a more mainstream diet or foods that aren't serving you. Your cells need to just get rid of that toxic debris and start building up again.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of what happened to me. And then part of it is that I really just did need to get some more calories in. And when I did, I easily, within the next half a year, got right back up to my ideal weight.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
exactly. Because there's so many ways to lose weight. And I made a post just earlier today about it because I didn't do raw for weight loss. The weight loss was a bonus. And I lost 70 pounds, right? So when people look and they're like, whoa, 70 pounds. But I was focused on the health when I went raw, not the weight loss. The weight loss was totally just a side bonus. And
nice.
I think a lot of people, and that's something that I wish I knew before, like when I was doing that 10 years, constantly trying raw, I was always doing it for weight loss. I was always like, okay, well, I'll go raw now to lose some weight. But it isn't about that, right? Because like I said, you can lose weight in various ways. You can calorie restrict, you can over exercise, you can starve yourself, and you can lose weight. But is it a healthy weight loss? Is it natural? Are you going to sustain that? And that's the ultimate question. Are you going to be able to do that? And I wish I knew back then that it's more about the health, right? The weight loss will come when you fuel yourself properly, when you eat low fat and eat abundantly and eat a lot of fiber and variety, then your body will either shrink or grow. Like in your case, when you started adding more calories, it'll find that homeostatic state that it likes to be in. And of course, we fluctuate, right? We fluctuate our weight depending on stress and activity level and even stages of life. Like for you, you went through menopause as a raw vegan, and I've always wanted to ask you how how your body physiology changed during that, because I mean I'm gonna experience that. I don't know when, but in the coming years, whatever, I'll go through that too, and I know my body's gonna change. And right now I do great on 2400 calories, and maybe I will need a little less, maybe I'll need more, I don't know, but I wanted to know your experience on that.
Yeah, I love that question because I don't get asked it very often.
Mm,
I,
excellent.
I like to talk about it, uh, and I'm not even afraid to like talk about age and that kind of thing because I feel like that this lifestyle has really been so helpful to me because early on when I um, when I had my period, it was like once a year sometimes, or once every other year. And I was on prednisone for 6 years because these doctors were trying to help me regulate my period.
Mhm.
And that just threw me off even more. And it actually contributed to my cystic acne. And I really didn't know what to do and how to get myself regulated. And going to a raw vegan diet in 1994, my monthly cycle was like every 28 days. It was
Mhm.
perfect.
Mhm.
It was absolutely perfect. And I no longer had to worry about getting it, and also about the cramps.
Mhm.
I would be in bed and I was in pain for years, every month. And even times when I didn't even get my period, but just when I knew I was ovulating, I would be in such pain.
Mhm.
And when I went raw, that all stopped. And it was like I would get it every 28 days, and it was like for 2 or 3 days, and it was really light, and I miss it.
Yeah,
And
it is a
then
nice time.
when, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what were you
And
gonna
then
say?
when I went raw vegan, it also, in addition to having it every 28 days, um, early on, and then, and then going through menopause later, also, I didn't have the symptoms that many of my friends have had.
Hmm.
Like one of my friends had terrible hot flashes, terrible. And like, I have never experienced a hot flash. Like, I have no idea what that's like.
Hmm.
But I know that it was really hard for her. And I did try to encourage her to make some changes, but she was not into it. So I didn't encourage. And one problem that I did have for many years that I thought would even get worse during menopause, because it did for my own mother, was that I had severe insomnia.
Interesting.
I had a hard time getting to sleep, and I would wake up numerous times at night and couldn't get back to sleep. And it was really not good. And I realized for me, and I know this isn't for everybody, but for me, I really cannot eat at night. I
Hmm.
cannot eat late at night. And it happens every time that I do it, that if
Hmm.
I eat late at night, I don't sleep. So when I started practicing, like, I'll eat when I want to in the morning. And if I have a full day of eating and I've gotten in enough calories, and then I stop by about 6 o'clock, 6:30, the latest, and go to sleep no later than 11. And I've had like 3 to 4 hours without eating. I fall asleep, no problem. I don't, like, if I do wake up at night just to go to the bathroom, I go back to bed, I fall right back to sleep.
Nice.
And it's so different from earlier on. So
Mm.
I think just having this knowledge about the foods that we are eating, and also about our digestion in general,
Hmm.
can really help in the later years. And, I'm in my late 60s now, getting closer to 70. And I just have so much energy. So many people tell me, like, Karen, where do you get all your energy? And I had called Medicare just to find out about it. And the woman on the phone was like, she couldn't believe that I wasn't on any drugs. She
Wow.
said everybody she speaks to in my age range are just on so many drugs.
Hmm.
And so I'm really happy with that. And I feel that my diet, and not only my diet, or let me not even call it diet, but
Yeah.
lifestyle, my
Hmm.
lifestyle and the way I live and all the other factors that are so important. Because I used to think that when I went raw, that like I said, I felt like I didn't need to sleep,
Hmm.
and sleep is important. At times I felt like, oh, exercise doesn't matter. I'm eating raw, you know? And I exercise, and I feel like even though I do spend time on the computer, I take breaks.
Hmm.
I jump on a rebounder. I do a lot of hiking, a lot of walking. I try to fit yoga in when I can. And all that with the combined with the food and the low fat raw vegan, it's just really, I think, empowering, especially for women wanting to go into a healthy menopause.
Hmm. I agree. I agree completely. And I like what you said about the not eating after like later in the evening. And I feel like for the majority of people, obviously we should be eating enough. And those who are eating later are because they haven't eaten enough during the day. And I love that you mentioned that, because if we get up and we start eating early and get the almost all of our calories before dinner time, then we can eat our dinner, end it around 6 o'clock, and then go to bed. I mean, Nate and I really like going to bed at 9 when we can. Lately, we've been going to bed way too late because of the bundle stuff.
Yeah.
But 9 is our preferred time to go to bed. And that means we have to eat dinner early. And it feels so much better that way. But like, we can't do the whole like one meal a day or intermittent fasting. If you're going to eat it, like have your last meal at 6, you got to start early. And then when you start early, Just like going on a long road trip. When you start your road trip, you're going to make sure that your gas tank is full. That's like the first thing you're going to do. So when you wake up in the morning, I mean, you don't have to eat right away, but like within a little bit, get up, brush your teeth, do your thing, and then make your smoothie and eat the majority of your calories early in the day. And then as the day goes on, then you're eating your greens, your fats, that kind of thing later on. And then you're done for the day, right? You're not hungry at 9 o'clock. You're
Right.
not hungry at 10 o'clock because you've fueled yourself up and your body's like, okay, I'm good. I've got everything I need for the day. Good to go. Don't need that. But I do know some people, like my mother, for example, she can't sleep if she doesn't eat, right? So sometimes she'll be eating later at night and she's not able to get to sleep unless she has the full tummy. And I know for myself, if I don't eat enough during the day, right, I tend to be hungrier at
Yeah.
later in
Oh,
the
me
evening.
too. Me too.
Yeah.
That's
So
why I
it's,
make sure I eat plenty during the daytime,
yep, it's
because I
key.
have seen a huge difference in the sleep, in the
Mm-hmm.
quality of the sleep, and going into a deep sleep as well. When
Mm-hmm.
I'm digesting at night, my body's focusing on digesting and it's not focusing on re-energized sleep. And
Mm-hmm.
so I do notice the difference even on the nights when I sleep and I eat late. You know, if I eat fruit late, it's not as bad because it digests quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But even when I do that, I do notice a difference in the quality of my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So for me,
Yeah,
that is important. Yeah.
totally. And we had a question, is it better to eat your fats at night? I personally think it's amazing to have your fats at night, like not night as in like 10 o'clock, but like with
Right.
your evening meal, because the fruit, and this is again something that I wish I knew, right? Not to put fat in your smoothie, right? There's so many people who are putting like,
Thank you.
yes, right? Almond milk and avocados and coconut milk and coconut cream and everything because they want a creamy smoothie. But that fat is causing, it can cause insulin resistance and you feel sluggish throughout the day and you're just not as energized as if you just had plain fruit, even if you had a mix of fruit, right? Because I'll do a mix of fruit. I have sometimes like 5 or 6 different fruits in my smoothie, but all of that is so good to have it just fruit and then fruit for snacks. I made a reel last week about eating nuts as a snack, and I used to do that back in the day, like before I went raw, low fat. I would have handfuls
Oh,
of
I would
nuts
sit
as
and eat like
snacks.
1 cup of nuts.
Yep, because I
It's
believed that
crazy.
was energy. And I was like, this isn't working, right? This isn't working. I remember one of my journals from when I was raw, I would eat like pecans or walnuts or cashews and I would have like a whole cup of them as my snack, thinking I needed this for my energy. And then I would have like a handful of berries or maybe some dried fruit. And then all of a sudden, like after an hour, I would be so tired, so tired. And then I write in my journal, I'm like, so next time, no fruit. Because I didn't
I know it's
realize,
the good stuff that gets crossed out. I've
right?
explained so
Yeah.
many times to people with diabetes that
Mm-hmm.
it's not the fruit, that it's the
Yeah.
fat. And it's the fat clogging the bloodstream so that the fruit and the glucose in the fruit cannot get into the cells. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, Lisa, I think is crucial because it also shows like you don't have to think so much about food combining if you're just doing it naturally throughout the day, because it makes sense that in the morning that you'd be eating the food that is the that has the highest water content, that goes through
Mm-hmm.
your body easily and more quickly because it's pre-digested through the ripening process, and that's how fruit is.
Mm-hmm.
So eating that way in the morning, and then later in the day you would have the more dense food because it takes them longer to digest. Like nuts and seeds
Mm-hmm.
can take up to 5 hours to digest, and an avocado 2 to 3 hours. So why would you eat them in the morning when you want to have other food not that long afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
So it
Exactly.
makes really good sense to have your last meal maybe like at 6 o'clock or something like that. Some people like to eat earlier, but I have found sometimes with some of the intermittent fasting guidelines that it doesn't work for people because then you're not maybe eating enough food. So you
Yeah.
want to get to the point in the day where you're eating enough. I do think that is really important. I know it was for me and for many of the people I've worked with over the years, and I've been out there doing this work since 1998. So I've seen it really clearly that most people, when they come into this, they definitely need to focus on getting the calories that they need. And the intermittent fasting, people who want to just eat one meal a day, they can't get enough calories in that one meal. Or if they want to stop
Yeah.
eating at 2 o'clock, you'd have to
Hmm.
start eating at like, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to get in all your calories. So I think that's something
Exactly.
that we need to look at.
I agree. I agree totally. And what I feel is like the whole intermittent fasting fad was created by like the keto low carb crew, because in order to eat high fat, you have to only eat small meals, right? Or like one meal. Because you can easily eat 2,000 calories in one meal and it's small, right?
Oh,
Whereas
easily.
with raw, you can, it's so hard to get 2,000 calories even within a 4 hour window. It's like really hard to eat that much because of the fiber and the water and
Yeah.
all of that that's in the food. So I feel like the whole intermittent fasting trend is doesn't apply to a raw diet. Like we have to like release all of those diet culture ideas and tips and everything, because it just doesn't work on a raw diet. It's so different. It's so
Very,
different. Hmm.
very
And a lot of
different.
people
Yeah,
also
it's
get into like, we are the only animals that look at our watch and say, okay, I have 4 hours to eat my meal, or I have a window of 8 hours to eat, right? We're the only species that does that. But we're also the only species that eats foods that like we have to like rearrange our lifestyle in order to eat those foods, right? But if we're eating
that's
natural
interesting. I
foods,
like that.
yeah, if we're eating natural foods, we don't have to do those things. We don't have to time our window. We don't have to do any of that. We would just be eating abundantly and lots of variety and just be normal, right? And I see too many people coming from the diet culture, moving into the raw food thing, doing the intermittent fasting and the OMAD stuff. And it really only works if you're eating really high fat. But even then, how many nutrients are you getting from everything else, right? I mean, I know there's
Yeah.
some people out there who do it, but overall, the vast majority of people can't do it on a raw diet, and they end up finding that they have a disordered relationship with food. And I think a lot of people with eating disorders naturally fall into a raw vegan diet because it is restrictive in a way. And then they apply those old diet tips onto the raw food diet, which makes things even worse because now they're severely under eating. I've coached some people who their daily diet is like 800 calories. And then they wonder why they're struggling. They're
Wow.
like, I'm trying to intermittent fast and I'm trying to do all this. And it's like, no, no, no. You need to eat. You need to eat real food and eat abundantly and fuel yourself up, because our basal metabolic rate, like the bare minimum required calories that we need every day, is for body functions like heart pumping and lungs breathing. Like we need that bare minimum every day to be able to
Yeah, we need
function.
to be eating enough food for sure.
Hmm.
Definitely. That is
Yeah.
key. And, also, I think if we look out to the animals, the animal kingdom, we see that the largest animals out there they're raw vegans and they're thriving and they have big muscles and they eat in abundance,
Hmm. And they eat
like
all
the
day. They
elephants and,
graze.
hmm?
Hmm. They graze, they eat all day whenever
That's,
they feel
yeah,
like it. Yeah. And I know there's like some people who are like, no, we're not supposed to graze all day because it's hard on your digestion. But if you're eating easily digested foods, it's not necessarily hard on your digestion. And I know there's people out there who are like, well, your digestion needs a break. But our lungs don't get a break. Our heart doesn't get a break. It's not like our digestion needs a break. We just need to stop assaulting it with all these other foods
right.
that are burdening it, right? Because when we're eating the appropriate amount of calories from the appropriate foods, lots of fruit, like our digestion works optimally, our detox organs work optimally, and we can detox and do all that kind of stuff properly. So Yeah.
I think that with this
Interesting
lifestyle
conversation.
also, yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that with this lifestyle, a lot of small meals do work really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I do sometimes take like a 2 hour maybe digestive period.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes makes me feel better, but I have some people that'll go like they'll tell me that they were before they started this, they were going like 4 or 5 hours in between eating another meal.
Mm-hmm.
And, I told them that's not really very good because, again, you're not going to be getting the calories that you need in the day if, let's say, you spread your meals out like that, and then you're going to be eating at night on top of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better to have more meals
Mm-hmm.
and just to be making sure to get those calories in there. And just
Yeah,
like,
it's
I
like,
don't know, living life, being happy, just eating when you're feeling like that you need to eat and that you want to eat. And for me, that's eating frequently throughout the day. So
mhm. Yep,
I feel like
totally.
it works.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah,
And we fast while we
definitely.
sleep, right? We all fast while we sleep. It's not something we need to force. It's not something that we need to get into because our bodies are going to be working at top notch for ourselves. Everyone's going to be different, obviously, depending where you're coming from, what have you. But we fast when we sleep. I fast when I sleep. And that's the only time that I do. The only other time that I would do a fast is if my body naturally gave me signals to, right? Not using my mind to be like, oh, I need to do a fast. But if, for example, say I had a stomach flu or something, and you put Chris Kendall's raw vegan pizza in front of me, or one of your, like, we had your tomato beef soup again today for like the 5th day in a row because it's so good. But like, if
That was
somebody put
actually Lauren's recipe in our book.
Oh, really? That's Lauren's recipe? It's
That's it.
so good. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's delicious. We put a hot pepper in this time to make it spicy.
It's
So good.
delicious. I've had it a couple of times before, and it's really delicious. And it perfectly takes that, because my husband has always loved like tomato soups and bisques with dairy in the
Mm-hmm.
past. And
Mm-hmm.
like to have that bisque without dairy it's great. And it really tastes creamy.
It does. It's so, so good. But like if somebody put that in front of me, right? And I looked at the soup and I was like, I could throw up right now just thinking about my favorite meals, right? That's when I know my body is like, okay, I need like 3 hours or overnight or something and I'll be good, right? And then the next morning when you wake up and you have those hunger signals again, that's when you eat, right? You don't force yourself into it. You listen to the body, not the mind. That's my 2 cents on it anyway.
Yeah, I think that, listening to the body, and a lot of people do not.
Mm-hmm.
They're just
They're confused.
focused on eating, and people have these emotional cravings that they've gotten used to. And one of the first things I do when I'm working with somebody is to take a step back,
Mm-hmm.
like even physically taking a step back and thinking about when you are going to put something to your mouth, is this something, first of all, that you're first of all, are you hungry? Are you really feeling that you want to eat? Are you just eating because you see something that is attractive to you on some level, whether it's from the past, something emotionally? Like I know for me, dairy was very emotional eating.
Mm-hmm.
I would eat it all day long, whether I was hungry or not.
Mm-hmm.
Something like cheddar cheese was just, I couldn't stay away from it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people have that. Dairy is also loaded with salt. So we end up having that salt craving through it. But
Mm-hmm.
just taking a step back and thinking about, first of all, if we're really hungry. And second of all, is this food going to serve us?
Mm-hmm.
If putting this food in our mouths and eating it is going to serve us. And if there is something else that could replace it, if we do want to eat, if there's something really positive that would benefit our health and that would also be tasty, what would that be? And could that also make us happy?
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Exactly.
think it's helpful to take that step back and to actually think, because I've seen people tell me that, when they have these emotional cravings, they just dive for it and they
Mm-hmm.
don't think, they're not taking taking a moment to think about what they're doing.
Yeah, I feel like that. I resonate with that a lot because there were so many times, like I said, I worked in the natural health industry since 2001, and we all know that potato chips aren't good for us. We all know that processed junk food just isn't good for us. We know it, but we still eat it, and we do it anyways. And we do it compulsively without actually thinking, because this world, the modern world, is so rush, 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 rush. Me, what's going on next, shiny object syndrome. We just don't have that silence and the stability within ourselves to really think about these things. But a lot of the time too, it's such a habit. I like the quote that says, we don't determine our future, we determine our habits, and our habits determine our future. Because our habits do determine our future, but we can determine our habits. It's getting out of those old habits that's the hard part. And people ask me all the time, well, how do you make new habits? Like, what is the key to it? And I feel for myself, after living, 40 some years, the key to making new habits is scheduling and planning. Like, you have to schedule it in, put it as a reminder in your phone, or write it down, be like, tomorrow I'm doing this. And you have to kind of force yourself to do it and remind yourself to do it every single day, so it becomes a habit. Because we can't just wake up one day and be like, okay, so today I'm going to be vegan, right? And then tomorrow I'm going to be vegan. If you don't plan out your meals, and you don't plan for, if you're going to go to a party or a restaurant or what have you, if you don't plan, then, and you don't eat enough during the day, you're going to have cravings. It's going to be easy to say yes to anything, whatever, because you didn't plan and you didn't eat enough. Those are the two top keys, I feel, that I've learned over the years, is planning is so vital.
I agree. And journaling, even if it's taking 5 minutes at night before going to sleep to write down what you are going to do the next day, even your plans for eating, can be really helpful. And whenever I've planned even a very simple recipe the day before, I know that I'm going to have the ingredients because I'm going to go and get them, or even the day before, if I'm thinking that I'm going to have that the next day, I will buy the ingredients, and that night I'll write down, approximately when I'm going to be preparing it and when I'm going to eat it. I even write down my day, when I'm going to plan my exercise in between working on the computer, so that I have some idea, and that it's not like my day is just random. Because when you have those random days, that's when, especially for people who aren't doing this yet, and are moving towards it, it's journaling. And even if it's 5 minutes that you can do it, it doesn't have to be a long period of time that you're spending planning. It can just be very simple, and it can be very simple recipes. And that's one of the things I love about this Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle, is that there's so many go-to kinds of recipes, thousands. It's really mind-boggling.
There's so many amazing things. And I remember when we were going through some of the books, I was writing down a bunch of recipes, and I even have it in here. I have the days where I wrote down what I wanted to make for breakfast, lunch, and dinner from each person's book, so that we could have a variety of different things. And this is what my day looks like, right? I just write everything down, and I just check it off. So it's breakfast, I'm gonna have this. Lunch, I'm gonna have this. And I noticed Bear with Girl, hey Joan Sue, she mentioned about being flexible, which is really important too. But when you have a schedule, and you have breakfast, I'm gonna have this smoothie, lunch, I'm gonna have this lunch, and dinner, I'm gonna have this dinner. When you write it down, you kind of set out that intention. So even if something comes up in the day, at least you had that intention. You were well, I was gonna have Karen's soup for lunch, but I'm going out for dinner with my friends. You already have that idea that you were gonna have that. So when you do go out for lunch with your friends, you are already in the mindset of eating something healthy, and you're more likely to choose something healthy. If you plan the night before, even if you don't follow your plan exactly, it's the whole mindset around planning that is key, I think.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're like what you said, it makes perfect sense, because even if you've planned it and you don't have it,
Mm-hmm.
you've already gotten it in your mind that, like, okay, I need to get the ingredients for this. Like, this happened to me with one of the burgers from the bundle that I had written it down. I bought all the ingredients, and then I got busy with all these IGTV lives and I didn't have time to prepare it. I was going to have it with a large salad, because that's what I do with, like, I'll pick like a savory entree to have with a large salad. And I was really looking forward to it. So I had the ingredients, but didn't have time to make it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had everything for the next day, and it just all came together. So as long as you're writing things down,
Mm-hmm.
you can follow it up with the day after.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
it's just so much easier to live like that, and to have some kind of schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and to
Yeah.
plan. And it doesn't have to be, like, I don't eat food that's made into recipes every day. Sometimes I'm just eating simple salads with go-to dressings that I've eaten over the years that I know I love. But this bundle is giving me so many new ideas for go-to recipes that are simple,
Mm-hmm.
easy to digest, low in fat, don't have oil. That's something, like, I keep out the oil. Like, I haven't seen things like agave, which is a sweetener that I don't do well with. It's not healthy. I don't
Mm-hmm.
consider it healthy. And these books are really clean.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes this an ideal package, because everything's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah,
no
you can make
processed junk.
anything. Make anything you want, and you know it's going to be good because we have all gotten together to share one message, right? To be healthy and to not have people like wonder, like, oh, could I have this or should I have this? Because I get that a lot too. That's something people ask me all the time. They're like, am I allowed to have this or can I have this? And I feel like I don't have to give them permission to eat anything, because that's what happens when you feel like you can't eat this or you can't eat that or you're not allowed to eat this. You're put into a box of what you can and can't have, and you live in this box, and it gets smaller and smaller, right? Because you get more restricted as time goes on. But to break free from that, and what I realized about 3 years ago is when I kind of broke free from the label of can and can't, right? I broke free by saying, okay, Lisa, you can eat anything you want. I could eat pizza, I could eat hot dogs, I could eat potato chips, I could eat anything I want. But what do I really want? What do I really want? I want to be empowered. I want to feel hydrated. I love the taste of the salads. I love like the way I feel after eating raw. That's what I truly want. So even if I would want the potato chips, to not feel guilty even just for thinking of them, because the guilt and the regret and all of that, that's what causes the eating disordered
That's
mindset.
right.
So releasing it by just saying, I can eat anything I want, but I choose raw because I love raw. And that's how I feel my best. So that's what I choose. And I feel like that brought me the most freedom of all. And I wish I knew that when I first started, because I was getting stuck in that label early on in my journey.
That's a wonderful way to talk to yourself,
Thank you.
because you're giving yourself permission,
Mm-hmm.
and yet at the same time, you're also honoring your body
Mm-hmm.
and what's best for you and what's going to keep you thriving throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise you, Lissa, you will not regret it.
Aw, thank you.
You will
Thank you.
definitely not regret it. And just
Aw.
having a bundle like this, like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
really grateful to you and to Chris for organizing this. It's such a, I mean, it's a large task.
Yes.
And putting this together, it's not only brought these vibrant recipes to community who want to get healthy, it's also brought the health community together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really a beautiful project. I'm
Aw.
really honored and proud to be a part of it. And I just can't say enough to everybody about how, how you'll be really blown away. by all of these recipes, by fitness programs, by a program on your digestion and what are the key factors, on beauty tips, so many things. I mean, it's just so inclusive of so many factors around raw vegan living.
Exactly.
It's really all encompassing. That's all I have to say. It's nobody should be without it. And even though I loved the first one last April, this one is just, I mean, just all of the people who came together for it. Like when you see it in the colors, it just pops out. Everything just pops out. I'm looking at some of these ebooks, and like I would say, like even one is worth the amount of money for $50.
Yeah, especially the holiday collection
Oh, that's
edition.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the holiday collection itself is valued at $50, which is the cost of the entire bundle. And the holiday ebook is only available in the bundle. So it's a collector's edition. If people want to get it, it's only available in the bundle and only until November 1st. So go to Super Healthy Raw here on Instagram and grab the bundle from the link in her bio. You can also get it from my bio, but head over to Karen's page, give her some love, give her some likes and comments and shares.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
And anybody who comes to follow me at Super Healthy Raw, I'll be happy to follow you right back.
You get a follow from Karen today. That's awesome. Yeah, so thank you, Karen, so much. This has been such an amazing conversation, and I love all these lives that we've been having. That's another thing that Chris and I really loved about the last bundle that we wanted to highlight with this one was all the daily lives that we do together, because it's like an online festival. We haven't really been able, I mean, there was Woodstock, but a lot of people weren't able to go to Woodstock and have that community. So having an online style festival where we can connect with everybody was a really top priority for Chris and I. So if anybody's interested in seeing what lives are planned, there's like 20 or 30 lives a day happening, like between all of us. So look on the website, go to Super Healthy Raw, click the link in her bio or the link in my bio, and then click live event schedule. And you'll be able to see all the lives that are happening until November 1st. So you can pick a live that you want to attend and see who's hosting it. It'll say live on so-and-so's channel. Come here and hang out with us and learn a bunch of stuff. It's going to be amazing. I love this. It's only day 4. Yeah.
It's like a free online health retreat.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I love it. It's so awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Thank you so much, Karen, for doing this.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. We'll have to do more of these for sure.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And I also want to thank you and Nate, because I didn't want to increase my EMFs, so I didn't upgrade my phone for a long time. And I'm glad that I got a new phone so I can do these IGTV lives.
Right. Then we just have to like cleanse ourselves after. But it is so amazing because we can connect with so many people and we can share the message, and it's all good, right? Pros and cons to everything.
It is all good. It all works out. And I think that, you know, we need to do this because we need to expose more and more people to a healthy, low-fat, raw vegan lifestyle.
Agreed. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. We will sign off now, and I'll save this IGTV to my IGTV, and I'll also put it on YouTube. And Karen can download, you can download this with instant save and put it on your YouTube as well, so your followers can see it as well.
Okay. Can I download it afterwards, because I don't have instant save yet?
Yeah, I'll tell you. You can just message me.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Plantfully Megan is asking what's her Insta. It's Super Healthy Raw. So go check out Karen.
Super Healthy Raw, 27 years since 1994.
So amazing. You're amazing. Awesome. Big hugs. All right.
Thank you.
We will see you later.
Bye.
Bye.